So look, I love the 80s. It was a perfect marriage of amazing music and awesome movies. It was a decade full of hot pink, and you know what? With Stranger Things back on Netflix with season 4, it had me thinking about some of my favorite 80s movies. And you know, it all goes back to 1983. It was the year I was born. Coincidentally, it was the year that Stranger Things season 1 takes place. Also, it was the year that this gorgeous vintage Kramer guitar was released, and it was actually designed for Eddie Van Halen back in 1983. So anyways, this had me thinking of, hey, what are some movies that I think probably inspired Stranger Things? And if you love Stranger Things, well, maybe some of these movies are something you should check out. The 80s was packed with so many classics, it would be nearly impossible to cover them all. However, there are some obvious Stranger Things inspired choices you should definitely scratch off your list. Especially Ghostbusters. I mean, after all, it played a major role in Stranger Things Season 2. But hey, today I have 5 movies that might not be quite as obvious and coincidentally connect to Stranger Things in ways you might not expect. In no particular order, let's start with The Lost Boys. Yes, I have gushed about this vampire cult classic many times on the show. I just can't help it. What happens when a group of kids join forces to vanquish a bunch of vampires in a California coastal town? Well, you get The Lost Boys. Strong Stranger Things vibes, and it's one of my favorite movies from the 80s. Next up, The Golden Child. Eddie Murphy is hilarious as he goes up against a menacing villain in this cult 80s classic. Released in 1986, Eddie Murphy plays Chandler Jarrell and is tasked with protecting the Golden Child from evil forces. Sound familiar? Moving on to The Burbs. This Tom Hanks mystery/comedy holds up shockingly well. I love neighborhood movies. Are they just nosy neighbors, or are they really onto something more sinister? To find out, check out The Burbs. You know, the 80s for me, and even specifically Stranger Things, it was all about like watching each other's backs, right? That community, that group of friends that gets together in a small, eerie town to eliminate some threat, right? Or gets rid of some monsters. There's so many awesome movies in the 80s that were like that. And you can see that DNA blending through every episode of Stranger Things. I mean, it's a cliche, but it wears its inspirations right on its 2 sleeves. And 2 sleeves? 2 sleeves, that was weird. Anyways, Stranger Things Season 4 pays obvious homage to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Hey, I love Wes Craven's original, but it's really the 3rd film, Dream Warriors, that give me strong Stranger Things vibes. It's chock full of 80s camp and has that feeling of coming together to face a common danger. Lastly, my favorite 80s movie of all time, The Monster Squad.
But when strange things start happening in town...
There's a monster in my closet.
Ooh, look at that big, scary monster!
Look, this is it. This is the quintessential underdog of the 1980s, and it oozes with Stranger Things. What happens when Dracula, the Mummy, and the Wolfman invade a small town? Well, you call up a small group of neighborhood friends called the Monster Squad. To find out more, seek out this 1987 classic. If you like Stranger Things, I guarantee it will be worth the adventure. That's all the 80s scoops I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and hey, get out there and watch a good movie.